Welcome to the Midnight Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Ingram. I'm a writer, I'm a comedian, I'm an all-around swell guy, I hope. Thanks for tuning in. Every week on this show, I read a story from my short story collection, Midnight Thoughts, for you, my kind listeners on the internet for free. Thanks for clicking that listen button. We're approaching the back end of our journey here. We're almost done. There are only 2 stories left, although this one I'm reading today we're going to break up into 2 parts because it is rather long, and frankly, guys, I don't want this journey to end just yet. I want to draw it out. I've had a lot of fun making this show. It's been stressful at times. It's been humbling at times, but I've learned a lot. I've in some ways rediscovered my voice as a writer doing this. Ooh, that probably got picked up. I live on a busy street, guys. What are you gonna do? But it's been a gratifying journey. It's been fun to do this and put it out every week and make my deadlines come hell or high water. It's been fun to re-explore my own work and find out what I like about it and figure out some things I can do better in the future. I've learned a lot, and I'm really glad I decided to do this. And I'm glad some folks have tuned in. There aren't a lot of you out there, but I am eternally grateful for the attention from those of you who have listened and said nice things. If it'd be really cool for those of you out here who are listening to maybe help me with a final social media push here at the end. Let people know, hey, we're almost done. It would be a good time to catch up and finish with everybody. You know what? I'll say this. This week, if you're listening, I would love it if you shared your favorite episode so far and just say, hey, this is a podcast this probably my close personal friend is doing, if we're being honest here. And just share your favorite episode so far, and maybe people check it out, and maybe they'll check out the rest of the show, and that would be pretty cool. We're working on some things to do with the feed. By we, I mean me. Nothing I'm ready to announce just yet, but the show isn't going to disappear when the book is over. I've got some plans for some more things. And, of course, we will be back when my next book is published. That's going to be Sherwin, Indiana. And part of the reason I'm recording this right now, this day in particular, is because I am procrastinating on that project. It's almost done. I need to read through it one more time before I send it to the editor. And then we're gonna rock and roll on that, and hopefully we'll have that out to you guys and start releasing chapters of that story here on the podcast before the end of the year. But in the meantime, that's not what we're here to talk about. What am I doing? This intro is almost 5 minutes long. My God. Let's get into the story. This is... Oh, I haven't even talked about this story yet. This story is called Disarmed. It's for me, honestly, kind of the culmination of what I learned writing most of the rest of these stories. A few of these stories I wrote after Disarmed, but it was me really coming together as a writer and learning things about genre and writing action and dialogue and practicing narrative voice. I think this is the story that is the best narrative in the book. It's the one that makes most sense on maybe a commercial level. This has some hoity-toity artsy-fartsy nonsense in it, but mainly it's a stripped-down crime story. It's a noir. It's a story about a detective. And yes, that detective might happen to live in a world with zombies, but it's still ultimately just a smash grab one night detective story. And I loved those stories, and I loved that I figured out how to write one, and I think it actually turned out really well. So, okay, this is the longest intro I think I've ever done on the show to one of the longest stories, or the single longest story in the book. But hey, we're here for a good time, so you know what? Let's just get into it. This is Disarmed. Disarmed. 1. Calvin Briggs? The door creaks open and her perfume hits me like a 37 Oldsmobile. Beautiful, but Christ, she lays it on thick. What do you want? Are you? She asks. Yeah, I'm him. I'm looking for something, she says. Long as you've got cash, you've come to the right place. Money isn't a problem, but this... She pauses, pulling the elbow-length glove from her left arm. This is a problem. I see a blackened and rotting stump, and suddenly the perfume makes a lot more sense. Looking back up at her face, I catch the signs. Makeup just a bit too heavy, eyebrows filled in with pencil, blonde hair perfect, but not hers. Dark lensed glasses to hide the telltale cloudy eyes. How'd I miss it? I'm a detective, for Christ's sake. You're half a bottle deep at 2 p.m., that's how. During the outbreak in the Wharf District, she says. 5 years ago. God, has it been that long? Guilt bubbled in my already sour stomach. I shove it down. My client is still talking. My family has money. They got me out of the quarantine zone before the army firebombed 16 city blocks. Obviously, I can't go to the police. A friend, well, an employee of the family said maybe you could help. Maybe I could. Her family had money, and my client list wasn't getting any longer these days. Still, there were risks. Helping one of your kind is a good way to lose my license. Hell, it's a good way to wind up behind bars. Please, I can pay whatever you want. And there are the magic words. Job like this, putting my business and good name at risk, that'll be expensive. $250 a day, plus expenses, and no guarantees. I understand. So take it from the top. How'd you lose the hand? She crosses her legs, and more makeup smudges. A piece like her was a crying shame. My family, they got me out, kept it quiet. I've never fed on a person. They import monkeys. There are a few well-to-do families with someone like me, and monkey brains are close enough to human to keep the atrophy at bay without the psychological consequences of lower life forms, I say. She nods, and with surprising dexterity for someone with her condition, digs into a handbag worth more than my car, pulls out a silver-tooled cigarette case. I'm around the desk with the light ready for her by the time she gets it to her mouth. She breathes in and offers me one. I take it, light up, and relish the taste of death. I've mostly stayed inside since. Even for a family like us, it isn't safe. The police won't do anything, but people talk. It could hurt Daddy. She wasn't kidding. Even the rumor of an infected would make it to the papers, especially if said infected was part of high society. None of this is news, sweetheart, I say. Skip to the good stuff. She looks hurt. Her voice shakes a bit. I'd wager she'd tear up if she could. I don't see anybody, nobody but Mary, who Father pays to visit and bring me books twice a week. Dr. Winstead every Wednesday, and Al, who delivers my food. He's a rough sort. I guess you'd have to be in his line of business. But he's always kind. He always treated me like a person. And I'm so lonely. Lips purse, jaws clench. And for a moment, I think I've chased off my first client in weeks. 2 months. It's clipped. Angry. But she hasn't stormed out, and it takes every ounce of professional detachment I've got not to breathe a sigh of relief. And he took the hand? Why? You guys have a spat or something? I have no idea. He came by last night, made his delivery, same as always, and we went to bed. I haven't slept in 5 years, but afterwards everything went black. The next thing I know, it's morning. He's gone, and so is my left hand. Sick fuck. Who's he affiliated with? The Italians? Russians? Venezuelans. That's a new one. Not entirely true. South American cartels have a pretty firm hold on the market for fresh primate brains, but she wouldn't know it, and it always pays to make a client think you're working harder than you actually are. Still, I can ask around. See what shakes loose. What was this joker's name again? Alejandro Castillo? I make a note. Got a picture? She fishes back into her bag and produces a shot of a dark-haired kid of maybe 19, with black eyes and a wispy mustache. And what exactly do you want? I'm not in the business of killing folks for running off with infected arms. She seems to get smaller. I guess I just want to know why. I don't want you to hurt him or anything. I just want to know why. And you're willing to pay $250 a day for that. She squares her shoulders. Money's not important. It never seems to be for kids born with it. Who are you anyway? I'm afraid you neglected to introduce yourself. Margot Sullivan? I blinked. So your father? Yes. So you understand the need for discretion? I nod. I understand I should have charged a lot more than $250 a goddamn day. Thank you. She gets up to leave. Makes it to the door before I think to ask. Miss Sullivan, how do you hear about me anyway? The woman who brings my books, Mary Grant. She said you'd be sympathetic. And then everything makes too much sense. Is something wrong? Mary. Sarah. My heart is sitting somewhere around my kidneys. No, Miss Sullivan, I'll be in touch. How do I get a hold of you anyway? I don't have a phone. I've got nobody to call. But Mary said you have her number? As the door latches shut, I'm back behind the desk, half a glass of whiskey already poured. Damn you, Mary. Why can't you leave me well enough alone? 2. The stench of fish and sailor piss hangs so thick around the docks, my dry cleaner's gonna think I've been digging around in dumpsters again. Of course, the night's still young. Digging around in the filth isn't too out of the ordinary for a PI. It's unbelievable what folks will throw away. Margot Sullivan said her squeeze worked for the Venezuelans, which means I have to call in a favor I do not want to collect on. I dodge around a couple raucous Navy boys in crisp white and jaunty little hats, chatting up a couple ladies who seem just a bit too enthusiastic, and give a rap on the big metal door behind them. A little window in the middle slides open, and a set of brown eyes glare at me. Charlene working tonight? I ask. Split, copper. The window slams shut. I sigh. Tell her Briggs is calling in the favor she owes him. There's no response, so I wait. The sailors and their dates seem to have settled on a price. One of them gives me a wink, and they move down the alley to consummate their filthy business. The girls lean into the theatrics, but I doubt the squids mind much. Probably hadn't seen a girl since Singapore. The little window slides open again, and a pair of suspicious green eyes flash before the door swings open on rusty hinges. Ain't seen you around in a while, Cal, Charlene says. Don't you like me anymore? I like you fine, Char. It's just the bourbon is cheaper, and I hate myself a little less in the morning. She's gorgeous like always, if looking a little tired. Brown Eyes glares from behind her. Jesus, he's a big lug. She smirks. It's contemptuous, but there's enough mirth in there a guy like me might think he could change your mind about him. It's a look that sent more than a couple saps home to their wives with empty pockets and lipstick on their collars. You always say the sweetest things, she says. But if you love this bourbon guy so much, why are you darkening my doorstep? Need to call in that favor, Charlene. She pouts as if disappointed, but it's only out of professional habit. Charlene could sell encyclopedias to the illiterate. She whips around and says over her shoulder, Pay Jimmy and come on up. I'm not here for a date, Charlene. She turns back to face me, arms folded. I owe you a favor, Calvin, but I'm on the clock and time ain't free, so fork it over or beat feet. I dig a couple 20s out of my battered leather wallet and hand them over to the hulk of a man. Semper Fidelis, boys, I shout to the rutting sailors down the alley just to make myself feel better and step inside. We pass ladies in various states of undress as we head up the stairs. Some of them I recognize, most I don't. Turnover in places like this is high. A few wink, but none of the girls I knew. They were experienced enough to know Charlene had staked her claim on me and wouldn't waste their time. Charlene leads me up an old staircase and down a bare-walled hallway. A key appears in her hand, and she ushers me into a room. Her room. She did well enough for herself not to have to share. I shut the door behind us, and she sits on the bed, arms folded again. "So what do you want, Cal?" "Eduardo Vasquez. He's still one of your regulars?" It's been a long time since I've seen Charlene surprised. Even now she hides it well, but she blinks, and her fingers tighten on the flesh of her arm just a bit. "My clients are none of your business." "True, but I need an in with the Venezuelans, and you owe me one. So if you know where he is, you're going to tell me." "Don't push me, Cal." Her eyes flash with anger. It's the first real emotion I've seen from her tonight. Nobody tells me what to do. Not you, not anybody. Here's the part of the job I hate. I step forward and loom. I'm big, and I use it when I have to. Listen good, Charlene. I got bastards and bookies banging on my door 12 times a week looking for a piece of me, and this is the first case I've caught in a month, so I ain't asking. If it weren't for me, you'd be in the pokey, and your kid be off in some workhouse for wayward strays getting strapped for forgetting to kiss his foster parents' boots. So why don't you cut the professional pride crap and tell me where he is? She glares, then gets up and shoves past me to the dresser. Reaching in the second drawer from the top, she pulls out a bottle of cheap clear alcohol and takes a pull. "Fuck you, Cal." "If you want, I paid for the time." For a second, I think she's going to hit me with the bottle, but then she just sighs and rolls her eyes. "I don't know where he is now, but he'll be here tonight." "Really?" "Every Tuesday at 11 for 20 minutes of grunts and curses, like death and taxes." I check my watch, and it's 10:15. "Well, that's the best break I've had in months." "You aren't going to wait for him here." Her voice says it's a question. Her eyes say it isn't. "I'll get a coffee and wait till after." "Tuesday's still cherry night?" "Like death and taxes." 3. Mabel sits right across from the nameless whorehouse. The booths are all red vinyl seatbacks and gray Formica tabletops. I've got a cup of coffee blacker than the plague, and a piece of cherry pie that gives the vinyl a run for its money in the red department. Through the diner windows, I've got a perfect view of the cat house. The hookers from earlier have sent their sailor friends on their ways, and are back to leaning against the wall, smoking thin cigarettes. Otherwise, the street is empty. I pick at my pie and pray this case shakes out simple. Vasquez is paying Charlene a visit the same night I need to find one of his boys is the type of luck I haven't caught a whiff of in a while. It's been long nights, dead ends, and dissatisfied clients for months. It's gotten bad enough to make a man question his abilities. But if Vasquez has a beat on the kid, this case could be wrapped up by morning. My mind drifts to places I don't want it to go. To Mary, to the outbreak, to the worst day of my life. Of our lives. 5 years. I thought maybe I finally had her out of my system. But then she sends some poor infected rich girl with a sob story to my door. I could hardly blame her for leaving. But at least have the decency to stay gone. My maudlin musings are short-lived, though, because at 10:56 I spot Vasquez swaggering towards the cat house. He tips his hat to the ladies and raps on the door with the familiarity of a housewife popping by the neighbors for a cup of sugar. Looks like my prayers are answered. I finish my pie and get a refill on the coffee. I'm wondering if a third would do irreparable damage to my bladder when the metal door across the street flies open and Vasquez tears out at a run. "Damn it, Charlene!" He pauses on the sidewalk, looks straight at the diner, and sprints off the way he'd come from. Shit, he's made me. I dig into my pocket for some loose change and toss it down on the table without counting, before legging it out the diner after him. So much for prayers. I catch up to Vasquez about a block and a half later. At least that's the way I'll tell the client if she wants the sordid details, I decide, as I felt cold steel against the back of my neck. "You're getting fat, Briggs." "Testament to my success," I say evenly, or at least try, between wheezing breaths. "Long time no see, Vasquez. Hoping we could chat. After what you pulled, pendejo." The pressure against the back of my skull intensifies. I should blow your brains out here. Let the rats have a chat over your corpse. Shit. When the hell did I screw over Vasquez? I gotta cut back on the sauce. Come on, Eddie. That was a long time ago. I throw in as much remorse as I can manage. Can we let bygones be? There's a blinding light followed by an ache in the back of my skull. I'm falling, but that's all right. I may be going soft, may have spent the better part of 5 years inside a bottle, but 10 on the streets and 3 in the war before that mean I'll never be completely useless. Vasquez may have knocked me down, but he was standing too close. My palm slapped hard against the asphalt. I ignore the pain and sweep my right leg against Vasquez's ankle. I hear a Spanish curse I don't know, then a thud, then a shot. Maybe I'm hit. I don't know. I just know the next shot will end me, so I push myself to my feet, ignoring the pain in my left forearm as I do. I spin, and the world spins with me. I'm seeing 2 Vasquezes drawing a bead on me with 6 shooters the size of goddamn cannons, and I kick out wildly with my left foot. His gun clatters off into the street, and I draw my own, a snub-nosed .38, matte black. No pretensions, a workhorse. Like me. Vasquez spits and shouts more profanities, a mixture of Spanish and English, and a few that might have been German as well. I let him go on for a while, as my vision clears. My palms are bleeding, my head aches, and my left wrist is at least sprained, probably broken. But that's all right. Miss Sullivan is covering expenses. Eventually I say, I told you I just wanted to talk, Eddie. Fuck you, maricon. Did you hurt Charlene? He blinks. I don't hurt women. Tension I didn't know I was feeling ebbs from between my shoulders. You got a kid on your crew, package boy. Alejandro Castillo? Sicko, likes to curl toes with the dead. He took something from a client. You need to tell me where he is. He spits again, but his demeanor is shifted from panic to a contemptuous nonchalance. He's had a gun pointed at his head plenty, and he knows, for me, killing him is a lot more trouble than it's worth. I'm not ratting out one of my crew, Briggs, you know that. I sigh, lower my gun a hair, a minor concession in our negotiations. I just want to talk to the kid. He's already cost you a high-class buyer of Monkey Melon. You can't be happy about that. Vasquez smiles, a wide, genuine smile, the kind that makes young ladies swoon and lesser men want to punch him in his white teeth. Eat shit, pig. My left fist clenches, and I instantly regret it. Broken for sure. Time to stop dicking around. He took her arm, Eduardo. Defiance turns to curiosity. Really? Why? Hell if I know. Some sort of sick fetish thing, probably. That's why the senator's daughter is paying me to find out. Well, I haven't seen him since yesterday. Not that I'd tell you. Now Vasquez looks troubled. Got him. A man with a lust for the unliving is running around the city with an infected arm. I know you make a pretty profit off the great and good sturdy little secrets, but you can't want another outbreak. The bluster is gone. I can see the wheels turning behind Vasquez's dark eyes. He's not stupid. Nobody with his skin tone gets as far as he has in this country without a good deal of cunning. But he also hates being cornered. And for some reason I can't quite put my finger on at the moment, he hates me. I haven't roughed him up recently, have I? Chuta madre. Fine. I haven't seen him, but some of the new boys hang out at the dive on Shelton. Pool hall, right? Yeah, the pocket place. He rolls his eyes. He might be there, might not. And I suppose you'll call ahead? Tell them to be extra welcoming for me? Or the lady killer grin is back. You got me dead to rights, Briggs. That doesn't happen very often. You leave the rest of my guys alone, they'll leave you alone. You have my word. He spits on his palm, and it's my turn to roll my eyes. But I holster the .38 and spit on mine, and we shake. Then I haul him to his feet. Thanks, Eduardo. Maybe next time we skip the part where we draw down and just have a drink, huh? If you're buying, asshole. I turn to leave and finally remember why Vasquez was angry with me in the first place. Sorry about your girl, Eduardo, I call over my shoulder. I shouldn't have gone there. I was on a bender. It happens. My self-satisfied smirk is stifled by his rich laughter. One day I'm gonna kill you, Briggs. Kill you or marry you off to my sister. She'd settle you downright. His laughter followed me into the night. 5. Pocket Place as a whole. Warm beer, broken pool cues, and enough Latin gang members to scare off any reasonable person. My kind of place. It's mostly empty. A couple mean-looking customers are shooting pool near the back of the room, while a couple of tired-looking girls watch, smoking cigarettes and not talking to each other in Spanish. Otherwise, the bar is empty. Castillo is nowhere in sight. I take a seat at the bar and order a brew. The bartender looks like he could smash rocks with his forehead. I think you're in the wrong bar, amigo. I do my best not to picture his skull pulverizing mine and say, I'm looking for a friend of a friend. Heard he hung out around this dump. A couple bruisers looked up from their game. Never heard of him, said the bartender. I didn't even tell you his name. We still don't know him. The men behind me aren't even pretending to play anymore. I tilt my head to the side and catch one of the burly bastards easing up behind me to the right. I'm sure the other is doing the same to the left. Vasquez gave me my word his boys wouldn't give me any trouble. Vasquez sent me. Wanted me to talk to him. Alejandro Castillo? The bartender slaps his hand against that overdeveloped forehead theatrically. You know what? We do know little Al, he says. But you aren't going to talk to him. It occurs to me that Vasquez's word has always been worth about as much as shit on sneakers. The goons are right behind me now. One or both of them had far too much garlic with their dinner. I wonder how much a partner would cost me. Somebody to watch my back, who could take a punch or two for once. Maybe I could pay in bourbon. Oh yeah, I say, wondering idly if I could take one of them with me. That's a shame. Why not? Because he's dead, pendejo. Burly arms grab me from both sides, and for a moment that massive brow is the only thing I see. Then I see nothing. Daddy, I'm cold, Sarah said. Why can't I feel anything? You're sick, baby, but they're looking for a cure, I said. Yeah, you need to stay here at the clinic. You stay here and do what the nurses tell you, and when Mommy and I get back, we're going on a trip, okay? I'm hungry, Daddy. Daddy, I want... There's fear in my daughter's eyes. I know, baby. You gotta fight it. We'll be back soon. Fire on the horizon. Police barricades. Smoke everywhere. Screaming. I know it couldn't have been Sarah I heard that day, but in my dreams, it's always her screams. So that was Disarmed, the first half of the penultimate story of Midnight Thoughts. Thank you so much for listening. Left you on a bit of a cliffhanger there, I know. We'll get you the rest of that story next week. And of course, if you'd like to read ahead, you can always purchase the story on Kindle or in paperback from Amazon.com. That's right, Amazon.com. They may be evil, but it's the simplest way to do this job. So that's what we're doing for now. Again, thank you so much for listening. I caught some mistakes early on in the story that really frustrated me, and I had to re-record some stuff, but that's okay. Like I've said a million times on this show, perfect's the enemy of good, and I'm rolling with the punches on that one. I'm just gonna have to suck it up and recognize that those problems didn't persist through the rest of the story, and I'm glad about that. If you liked our theme song, Cyberpunk Panic Attack, check out False Idols. They're really rad. My friend Vince made that for me, and I couldn't be more pleased with it. Pay him to make theme songs for you. Why not? He's available and affordable. Next week we're gonna finish out this story, and then week after that we will move on into our final episode, which will be short. But I want to thank all of you who've been a part of this process for me. It's meant a lot that people have listened. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, it would be really cool if you shared your favorite episode of the season. Do a little guerrilla marketing for me. And if you have better things to do with your social media feed, I understand. But it sure would help us out over here. And by us, I mean me. This is a one-man operation. And if you want to support that operation, go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram at Andrew Ingram 88, and check out the stuff I make. All right. I love you all very different amounts, but I appreciate you all also different amounts. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.